what do you really want? What really gets you up in the morning? What really excites you? That's what I'm talking about here. And that's the abundance, is like, we are worthy of whatever we believe we're worthy of.
Yeah.
So don't let yourself get in the way. It's already yours.
It's already yours.
It's already yours. It's already on its way. When you feel jealousy for someone else, when you feel competition, when you see someone else just had a baby and you've been trying to get pregnant, it's already on its way to you. So how can you, instead of being in scarcity,
I love that. I'm gonna
instead of being in scarcity,
wow,
how can you be in abundance? It's on its way. It's right around the corner. But you have to believe that it's meant for you at exactly the right time. You're not too late. You're not too early. You're exactly on time.
Hello and welcome to Curious Ones podcast by Yandara. I'm Yael Ginzburg, the host of the podcast, a yoga and meditation teacher and philosophy lover. Each week you will hear eye-opening interviews with the different teachers of the Yandara Yoga Institute, located in beautiful Baja, Mexico, along with other teachers that pass through here. This life-changing knowledge, shared through authentic, heartfelt communication, will help you live a happier, more fulfilled, and connected life. Let's dive in. Hello, welcome back to Curious Ones podcast by Yandara. I'm Yael Ginzburg, and today I have the beautiful Sophie Jaffe.
Hello.
Sophie is an incredible teacher from LA. She is the founder of Philosophie, which is a superfood company with incredible things. We have the sunshine drops right here.
Drinking it now.
Yes. She is a yoga teacher, retreat leader, and co-host of IGNTD podcast with her husband, Adi, who is an Israeli.
Which is why you can pronounce his name.
Yes, actually my brother-in-law is named Adi.
Oh, of course.
So I saw Sophie's going to be, or is in Israel, and I thought it would be a perfect opportunity. And here we are.
Yes, I'm so glad it worked out. I'm actually leaving today on a trip up north with my family. And so it worked out exactly perfectly. Like, there's always these synchronicities, right? It's so perfect, always.
This is how it works when it's meant to be, as you said, when we started.
When it's meant to be, like, nothing can get in your way, and there might be hiccups, but if it's meant to be, it'll just find a way to.
Yep, there were definitely hiccups.
always. There's supposed to be. Nothing's supposed to be easy.
You think nothing's supposed to be easy?
Well, some things for sure. Some things I think over time can be easy, but I think, something like this where you rented equipment and you're not comfortable with it, and it's new and it's like beginner's mind. Like, it's meant to be like frustration because it's new.
Yeah.
It's hard to go through new things because they challenge us, and the thing that's challenging us is helping us grow. So it's uncomfortable. It's like after you do a really hard lifting weights workout and you're sore for days, it's because your muscles have to break apart to rebuild stronger. It has to. You need to experience the pain and the hardships. Like it's a physical requirement. Yeah. So the same thing goes for everything else new we're trying to learn. If this was the 100th podcast with the same equipment, it would be no issue. And then it is easy. But in the beginning, it's kind of a requirement for things to be hard.
Definitely. I use that example a lot as like what our muscles need to go through in order to become stronger.
It's a good thing to relate to because we all have gone through it before, as opposed to more like spiritual things, or maybe not everyone has had that same kind of experience. We've all been sore because we took a really hard workout class, right?
And we've all been sore because we've experienced difficulties in our life.
Yes.
Definitely. And thinking about it in the fact that through the soreness, or you have to go through the soreness in order to become stronger. I once heard somebody say that it's really not that things get easier over time, also with a spiritual practice. It's just that you become stronger.
Yeah. You're more resilient. You're stronger.
Exactly.
Also, you've been through it before. Like, think about those first heartbreaks or those first bumps in the road or those first spiritual things that are trying to break you, and instead you let it bend you, right? Like you figure out over time not to break, but instead to bend with the wind and with the rain and with the weather that comes. I was just at dinner a couple nights ago with my husband, and we help couples. We help them through some of the most traumatic, hard times of their life. And if you listen to our podcast, we get into some of these topics, but we have a couples group that we lead every other Sunday night for a year, and we have 11 couples in it, and we meet and we talk about the real stuff of life. And then we also meet with people one-on-one, and we lead retreats. So we're very deep in this work, helping couples not get divorced, stay together, get to the truth of what the problems are and get through it. And we were at dinner the other night, and it was meant, I thought, to just be, a hangout, and it ended up being a 5-hour dinner. And we were helping, I was helping the wife, who's Israeli. She's 44, going through her first breaking situation. And to her, it might feel like society labels it as like a midlife crisis. Her kids are growing up, and she's like, who am I, for the first time in her life? Wow. And she's terrified. And so the entire dinner was me reminding her over and over and over again, it's the most normal thing that you're going through right now. So normalizing it, reducing the stigma, the shame, the fear, building awareness around it. She didn't know what it was she was going through. She's like, I don't want anyone to touch. I don't want my husband to touch me. I don't want anyone to look at me. I'm just like, listening to music all the time by myself, and just, I want to be alone. And I'm like, yeah, that's where we find the answers. That's where we feel the comfort, is when we go inward in that chrysalis, in the contraction, so that then we can grow. And she just, she's like brand new to this language and this experience. She's never had it. She's always been the perfect wife, the perfect mom, and distracted by life and working and all of that. So it was just so interesting to communicate in a way with someone. Also, my Hebrew isn't very good. Her English isn't great. I mean, it is pretty good, but it's like we were working through so much to make each other understand. And so she could understand like what I was trying to communicate, which is, when you get through these, like, first of all, there's no rush. Mm-hmm. You're exactly on time. She had all this judgment around like, but I'm 44. Like, you're not too late. You're not too early. You're right on time for you. This was when you were meant to go through this. And the good news is it will never be as hard as it is right now. Yeah. Because it's the first time she's ever gone through something like this. So for her, it's terrifying. What is this? I feel disgusting. And I'm like, yeah, you're like in the chrysalis right now. You're that caterpillar who needs to go into the cocoon and eat itself, literally eat itself to emerge as a butterfly. You don't just become a butterfly. We have to go through the process, and the process can be ugly. Yeah. It can feel gross. You don't want to like look in the mirror. Who am I? But the comfort is in, it's never going to be as hard as it is in this moment, because you have the awareness now. I'm in the chrysalis. I'm in this phase. I'm inside the transformation. And on the other side, I can trust that although I don't know what it'll look like, it'll be better than where I am now. And then we repeat, and we rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And so although it doesn't get easier, because it's still painful when we go through transformations, it's still painful when we hit bumps in the road, and the universe is like teaching us lessons again and again. But we've been there before. And so we can take that wisdom and extract that wisdom. This is why journaling is so important to me, because I go back in my journal and I learn about myself. I'm like, I've been here before. Oh, really? And I'm alive. I made it through. I made it to the other side. Like, I've journaled since I was a little girl. And that's part of that practice, is like, we forget. We forget where we've been. Yeah. And it's easy to sugarcoat it, or it's easy to minimize, right? We do all these things with our minds, but like the reality is I was here a year ago, or I was here when I was 20 or whatever, and I'm good. And here's how I got through it.
Mm-hmm. I think it really is terrifying when you start to separate from the image of yourself that you have of yourself. And I can totally understand the fear and this place of being in uncertainty. It's a really weird feeling in the body.
Yes.
And
you want to run away from it.
You want to run away from it, like you run away from fire. And the thing is that the more you embrace it and the more you get comfortable with it, then it is going to come back again and again and again and again, because hopefully we're all the time growing, right? If we stay the same, if it's always familiar, if it's always certain, then it's the past.
We're not growing.
Exactly. Yeah. We're staying exactly as we are. So hopefully we're experiencing.
And the more that we lean in and push against it and say, I'm here, I'm ready, I might be a little scared, but I am ready to leap.
Yeah.
Right? Leap and the net will appear. What does that mean? It's like, leap, like just go. Just go.
So I've lived by that for the last few years. Actually, that's how this whole project came to life.
Oh, cool.
Because I went traveling and I didn't really have a plan. I didn't really have that much money in order to support the trip that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I kind of said, okay, I'm jumping, universe catch me. And of course I was very careful to listen to my intuition in taking these steps and all of that. But that's exactly what happened. Like suddenly this project appeared and I came to this school and I mean, I came up with the idea, but you know, like everything kind of came into place. So maybe you can speak a little bit about what is that process of leaping with the faith that the universe will catch you.
I think that specific example of like leap and the net will appear, like the universe will hold you, will catch you. The universe wants to protect you. The universe wants to, yes, push you, help you to grow, learn lessons, gain wisdom, not repeat patterns over and over again. And so it will present exactly what you're meant to have, exactly when you're meant to have it. Oftentimes it's presented as challenges and difficulties, and it then makes you feel uncertain because it rocks your comfort zone. It's forcing you to look at things and feel things that you may not feel very comfortable feeling. That feeling doesn't necessarily go away. But the trust, building a trust muscle, right? Kind of like building weights, like we talked about earlier. The trust muscle, that does get easier because you start to look at the track record of the universe protecting you. And so you make small leaps, you jump, you know, I'm watching my daughter right now, she's 5, learn how to swim without her floaties. And it's baby steps, especially with her personality. So knowing yourself, knowing if you're someone who's really adventurous and brave and risk taker, like you could maybe jump in a little bit bigger. For someone who's not as much of a risk taker, little tiny tests with yourself and the universe. Physically, like actually, maybe you go outside of your comfort zone and go to a new place, or go hang out with different friends, or go to a different restaurant or coffee shop, like little tests just to see what happens. Every time you will come out having more wisdom, more growth, because we just stay the same when we do the same stuff.
Yeah.
A small example is like, you know, staying home instead of going out to a party or going out to a new experience. Like the experience has never happened before. So there's no guarantee what that party will be like, or that gathering, or that moon circle, or even that yoga class. You have no idea what you're going to get from that experience because it's never happened before exactly in that way. So if you stay at home on the couch watching Netflix, you do know what's going to happen.
Everything's going to stay
unless
the same.
You're watching a documentary. You're going to stay the same. You're not pushing yourself at all. Staying comfortable is important sometimes. But when you are wanting to grow and elicit change in your life, you have to push yourselves yourself in lots of different ways. So go to different classes, go to different workouts, listen to different music, listen to different podcasts, go to different types of yoga classes. You've tried Kundalini before. Okay, maybe it serves you. Maybe it served you for 12 years. Try something else. Mixing things up, because that's where you're going to get those lessons and those downloads.
100%. I love that you said that. And I also it connects with me with something that I saw on your Instagram account. And you I think it was one of your last posts that you wrote mindset shifts. And one of them was also to change your thoughts in order to change your life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe generally, what do we need to really change in ourselves in order to change our life externally? And then more specifically, how do we start to change our thoughts? Because most of us know thoughts as something that's very automatic and not really in our control.
Yeah. I mean, I think for so long, yes, you're right. I think for so long, I think the default is to work on autopilot in all things.
Yeah.
Like we get in our car, we put on the map, we put on the same music, like everything's very auto. We get up, maybe we grab our phone, maybe we brush our teeth. Like there's certain things on autopilot. So switching those little things up slowly. And also, in terms of mindset, knowing that that's actually the most powerful part to this is to create change. It's the words we say to ourselves. It's the way we speak to ourselves. So a lot of times I'll have my clients and myself, like when I'm in a lost place or whatever it is I'm trying to work on, but I'll have my clients create a journal where they're keeping a record of maybe 3 days of how they're speaking to themselves. And maybe it's specifics, or we have so many thoughts in the day. Maybe it's a tally of positive ways we're speaking to each other and negative. And you're just marking it without judgment. This isn't a judgment thing. This is truth with ourselves and building awareness. We have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? If you were trying to lose weight, I would have you look at a food chart of what it is you're consuming for 3 days. Not to change anything, just to build awareness. Oh, okay, these are my patterns. And then we can go from there and shift things and change things. And like, I see you're eating a snack at 11 p.m. every night and it's waffles. Maybe we switch that one snack for a protein or a good healthy fat to keep your sleep good. There's so many things we can learn when we're honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're journaling lies and like manipulating it. We're telling the truth so that we can start to see the truth and build awareness of where we are. So I would have my clients just build awareness for, even in one day, you can see what your thoughts are like. Are they mostly positive? Are they mostly negative? No judgment.
Honestly, I think you could feel that by how you feel inside.
Yes. Yes. And yet some people might not know. Some people might not know that the voice inside is judgmental, fearful, anxiety provoking. I think that like hard on ourselves. And I think that not everyone is aware of that. Even the feeling, they might think it's an external thing, making them feel something. And I say that with air quotes because nobody else can make you feel something. It's within yourself to have your equilibrium, have that, that dedication to your own integrity and true north and really connecting to that place of truth within. Nothing else can disturb your peace. It will try because life will keep lifing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like when you're driving a car out on the freeway and like there's traffic and there's honking and there's this and there's that and like the sun's blazing. Not one thing is trying to get you. It's all just life happening. And if you let it get you down, it's because you didn't eat before you got in the car, or you didn't eat enough that day, or you're thirsty, or you're tired because you didn't sleep well last night, or you didn't meditate that morning, you didn't move your body. The frustrations you're experiencing can be controlled by your own inside self.
Your interpretation of the situation.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So once we start to build this awareness of how we're interpreting things that are happening to us, how do we start to make the changes of things that don't maybe make us feel that good?
Well, in terms of the wording and like the way we're speaking to ourselves, I usually say like try and speak to yourself as if you were speaking to your best friend or your daughter, like your future daughter or the daughter you never had, or your daughter. Like, would you say those things to your daughter? Would you say like, oh, here you are again doing that stupid thing? Of course you did that. You would never. You would never speak to your best friend that way. And if so, you need to reevaluate
Yes.
the way you show up to friendship. But it's this relationship to self is the most important relationship you'll ever have. We die alone. We come into life alone. Like, we must have a healthy relationship. You don't have to be obsessed with yourself. You don't have to be in love with yourself if that's too far away right now from where you are and you despise yourself and hate yourself and speak really badly to yourself, which I have plenty of clients that do. And every time I'm shocked. Every time I'm just like heartbroken, not with judgment, just like, I can't believe that people are walking around hating themselves.
Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking and common. And yet it doesn't take a lot to move the needle. And every little shift makes a big difference. So instead of getting overwhelmed with like, I have to change my whole life, just start with the awareness of, here's how I'm speaking to myself. It's not loving. It's not supportive. How would I speak to my best friend? And then starting to challenge ourselves to question the way we speak to ourselves. And then from there, hopefully the awareness builds enough that we start to pick another thought.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone that I love very much recently, and I was like, he was in a really bad place, and he still is in a really bad place. And I was like, remember the gratitude journal I gave you? Like, and he's like, I don't know where it is. Stuck in stud, like all the excuses. I said, okay, just text me 3 things you're grateful for. And he's like, I have nothing. I have nothing to be grateful for. I can't think of anything. Everything is bad. Everything is hard. Everything is this. Everything is that. And I was like, this is the time to practice your gratitudes, is when it's hard to find them. When we're having a good day,
so easy.
It's so easy to find your gratitude. It's still important to practice it, because practicing the habit is really important. Like when I'm having a good day and a good mental health day, it's great to have therapy, but it's also like not necessary. It's maintenance. It's maintenance. And so the gratitude journal, the habits, the rituals that we do every day are not necessarily meant for the days that we're doing well. It's really to have a toolbox of things to pick from when we're not doing well. So let that be one thing in your toolbox, right? And so hopefully if a person is not doing well mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, they can start to build awareness of the way they're speaking to themselves. And after that, they start picking things that are a little bit more healthy, maybe the way they would speak to their best friend or their daughter. They will notice more contentment within themselves over time. And they will start to pick, you will start to pick, we will start to pick the nicer thoughts, the more neutral thoughts, the less judgmental thoughts. And then everything in your life just starts to slowly become a little shinier, a little more sparkly, a little happier. And it's those subtle shifts that we have to stay aware of, that we're the ones creating our lives. We're creating our own happiness. We're creating our own hell. We're creating our own suffering. We're creating our own joy. Yeah. It's up to us. And life is going to keep lifing. And it's up to us to take care of our insides, our heart, our souls, our spirits, our psyche, our true north, really connecting to what is our why, what is our purpose, and being held accountable for ourselves. We must be responsible for our own happiness or health.
There is nobody else that can really affect it other than us.
But plenty of people are walking around in this moment blaming everyone and everything else unconsciously.
Yeah. But that's, for me, that's just like giving away the power that you have, because instead of taking the opportunity of changing what you can, which is everything basically, which starts from how we think, how we speak, and according to that, how we act.
Yes.
We we drain ourselves from power by giving the power to other people.
You got it.
I think that's like, I really love this conversation, this direction, because I'm really interested in like creating our reality and how we can really choose how to advance our lives in a direction that is close to our Dharma, our life purpose, our where we find meaning, and how we can add something good to the world.
Oh yeah.
And it really, from all my studies and everything that I'm doing, it really comes back to like our self-image of ourselves, the way that we speak to ourselves, and kind of the beliefs that we have. So I wrote this down also to talk with you about, because I heard you mention, I kind of like, there's a few podcasts that Sophie's been on, and of course her podcast. So if you want to hear more about her life story, there's plenty of information, but I'll just kind of shortly say it. You met your husband very young, right, in college, and you said that you guys started not having that much money. You weren't very, like, you were just starting off in your life. You were in college, and yet you did live in an abundant way with this kind of trust that things will happen and develop. So I would love to hear from you about what were the thoughts that you came back to, or what was the mindset that you were in that let you stay hopeful in order to attract the life that now you live?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So this is another mindset shift. It's abundance versus scarcity. So again, this is all going together. The thoughts that we think, the way that we speak to ourselves, and the way we speak out loud creates our reality. So maybe now you've worked on your self-thoughts, you've become more aware, you've become more conscious, you're starting to have a more joyful life, but you maybe don't have enough money, or you're wanting to attract your life partner, or you want to have a family or a child, whatever it is you want out of this life, it's here. There is overflowing abundance for all of us. There is no competition. There is no one that is necessarily deserves more than you or less. We're all in this flowing abundance if we believe so. And that's what I believe. There's more than enough for everyone. And I think that the abundance versus scarcity, really fine-tuning, just like we built awareness around the thoughts we think, now getting hypersensitive and aware of the scarcity. You can make two lines again.
Yeah.
And abundance versus scarcity. How do I feel about this? How do I feel about that? What is my relationship to money? How do I speak about love? How do I speak about past love? How do I speak about friendships? How do I speak about children? How do I speak? All the things that we want, notice the language around it, right? And that in itself, practiced over time, will shift your reality with the life that you live and the things that you attract. Because if you don't think that you're deserving of the life of your dreams, or you don't think you're deserving of the love of your life, or you don't think you're deserving or ever going to have children because of X, Y, and Z, these excuses, this languaging will keep you stuck, and you will not get the life of your dreams because you don't believe it's possible. Why would the universe present anything to you if you don't believe that you're deserving of that thing?
Wow, 100%. That is so true. It's really like beyond the way that you speak, beyond what you do, beyond all the spiritual practices that we can do. If you don't really think that you're worthy of it, then it's not going to happen. So now, of course, the obvious question is, if you don't think you're worthy, how do you change that?
So very similarly, it's been beautiful to witness my partner, my husband, Adi. He did have a very scarcity mindset, and I was kind of like holding this like abundance flag for both of us and then for our whole family, but it's a lot to carry. And being with a partner who does think in scarcity creates a lot of conflict because it's eventually you start to get beat down by it. And I think through our podcast and just being married to me for so long and just noticing the roadblocks we were experiencing and butting heads, it's almost like he had no choice. Like he wanted it, but he wasn't working for it. And so every single day he would wake up and he started building a morning practice. And within the morning practice was abundance versus scarcity practices. Like he really started to own his languaging and his perspectives. And he built out, he works with clients as well and is very, very powerful. But he wasn't doing it necessarily for himself. And so he started taking some of these practices. And one of them is creating this visualization of the life of your dreams. So it's called a perfect day workshop. And so you start in the morning, you wake up. Where are you? Who are you sleeping next to? Who else is in the room? Animals, kids, whatever.
Third partner.
Threesome, foursome, fivesome. Whatever you want. How do you open the blinds? What are you wearing? What are you not wearing? What smell is in the air? Everything from the minute you wake up and you play out the fantasy of your perfect day till the minute you go to sleep. Who are you spending time with? What do you do for work? What is your purpose? What is your Dharma? How are you aligning with that? What are you eating? How are you working out? How are you moving your body? Where do you live? What does the sunshine feel like on your skin when you walk outside in the morning? All of those things. What life are you creating? So that visualization, he started to read out loud. So he did it and then he wrote it down and then he would read it every single morning.
Wow.
So that he's in the vibration and the frequency of that abundance mindset and reminding himself every single day, this is what I'm working for. This is what I'm working towards. This is where I'm going. And so that's just one example. That's just one example of what anyone here that's listening can do is you can start right now. You can pause this podcast. You can go into your mind and just let it run wild.
Yeah.
And I'm someone I like to write things down. So I actually would write this activity out. I would make it a writing activity and write the whole thing out. And then revisit it as often as you can as you move towards your goals. And it could also be something as small as writing out your goals, writing out your purpose, writing out your why. Like that is great to give you direction. But what do you really want? What really gets you up in the morning? What really excites you? That's what I'm talking about here. And that's the abundance is like we are worthy of whatever we believe we're worthy of.
Yeah.
So don't let yourself get in the way.
Yeah.
Of what you're meant to have. Yeah.
We stop ourselves. We're like, oh, wow, that would be amazing. But no, I can't have that. Me? No. And then we kind of like put it aside and don't realize that the reason that we want it, the reason that we have this dream in the first place is because we're supposed to have it.
It's already yours.
It's already yours.
It's already yours. It's already on its way. When you feel jealousy for someone else, when you feel competition, when you see someone else just had a baby and you've been trying to get pregnant, it's already on its way to you. So how can you, instead of being in scarcity,
I love that. I'm gonna
instead of being in scarcity,
wow,
how can you be in abundance? Like one of my best friends from college, all she wanted was love. All she wanted was love. All she wanted was a life partner. And she started dating this guy and then they broke up. And she's at my house and she sees someone got engaged. And she says out loud, like, oh, the stuff we say. Which category would that be in? Abundance or scarcity?
Scarcity, of course.
Scarcity.
Yeah.
She's creating her own reality. Why are you not attracting the man of your dreams? Because you have that attitude. You're in scarcity. That frustration.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
That her living her dream and her Dharma and getting the job of her dreams or the family or getting her fit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you can actually tune into the frequency of love in that moment and gratitude and abundance in that moment and say, wow, I want that. That is so beautiful. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy for him. If you can tune into that frequency, it's right around the corner. It's already 100%. On its way to you. And you're creating blocks and showing the universe you're not ready.
100%. I think that's exactly like that mindset of like being upset about somebody else getting something that you want is really comes from a place that, as we spoke before, like you think that there's not enough for everybody. And if they have, then I don't have. Rather than realizing that her having it or somebody else having what I want is a sign that it's possible.
Yes.
It's a sign that it exists, that it's happening all around us.
That's it.
And that's really the shift of the mindset that helps you be more in the abundance.
Yeah. And I find that like, it's kind of like a game, like the universe, you can play games with the universe.
Wow.
And like,
when the universe has such a sense of humor,
right?
It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you can start to find some lightness in that and just like whatever signs you're getting, whatever people you're seeing over and over again, whatever like those things that are being sent to you as little messengers, okay, let me be curious around what this message is. If you start seeing a lot of people getting engaged, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's on its way. It's right around the corner. But you have to believe that it's meant for you at exactly the right time. You're not too late. You're not too early. You're exactly on time.
Hey, I'm quickly interrupting the episode to extend an invitation. If you are interested in deepening into any of the subjects we talk about on the podcast, we offer many different experiences on our beautiful grounds here in Baja, Mexico. From 9-day modules such as sound healing and yoga nidra to breath and meditation, as well as 200 or 300-hour yoga teacher trainings and many different shorter retreats. Check out our website yandara.com to see all the information about the different experiences. Let's get back to the episode. Going to kind of shift to maybe another mindset shift that you had on your Instagram, because this I saw and I was like, this is kind of something that I'm thinking about lately. And I saw this and I was like, wow, I have a question. And I was like, okay, I get to actually ask her.
Perfect.
Yes. So the first sentence was, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And then the next one after that was, speak your truth even if your voice shakes. And I was like, sometimes you can't speak your truth if you want to be happy instead of right.
Correct. So like they're almost contradictions, you're saying.
Exactly. So I would love to hear you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're very different. Like in my mind, and maybe we can find together that there's a connection point. But in my mind, the first one, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So oftentimes, I think I see the parallel now and that actually they do intersect. So in a relationship with someone else, or even just out in life, things are coming at you. Things are happening. Life is lifing. And so in a relationship, they're our greatest mirrors. And so what you're meant to learn, what you're meant to see, it's meant for you.
Yeah.
And it triggers us and it's annoying and it's infuriating because they really can see you and see like where those little things are. We don't do it consciously necessarily. Sometimes we do. But it's actually a gift because it helps us look within ourselves.
Yeah.
Someone who really loves you is going to help you, actually, honestly, any relationship, whether they love you or not, is going to help you see more deeply into yourself.
If you choose to see it.
If you choose to see it. So do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? To me means sometimes holding back the things you want to say for the happiness and the peace for the greater, right? For both of you, for all of us, whatever the thing is. Sometimes it is holding back, saying some things. I would argue that maybe some of those things aren't your truth. They're things you want to say to be right, to prove your point.
Yeah.
So that's the place where I see like, speak your voice even if your voice shakes, to me, is about speaking your truth, using your voice. Sometimes it feels really scary. A lot of women that I've worked with, a lot of my friends throughout time, it's hard to express what you're feeling, what you're needing, right? For women, we've like been told for generations to shut up. You're not as powerful. You don't deserve as much. You're less of a human being because you're a woman. So all of those years in our bodies, in our bones of being shut up and told to just like go make babies is within us. So there's that. Then there's the trauma, maybe past trauma that we've had from past relationships. Like I know in my relationship before my husband, he was very controlling and I couldn't always speak up because it didn't feel safe. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in life when we feel stuck and like we have a need and we have a thing from our truth that needs to be exposed, needs to be shared. Even if your voice is shaky and you're nervous and you're squeaking and you're like shaking and you're sweating, you still need to say the thing. And every time you speak your voice when you feel shaky and scared will strengthen that, that expression. And then the next time you won't feel so afraid to speak up because you'll know it's safe. And then the next time you won't feel so afraid and it won't be so shaky. And so I think they're two different things, but I think that you can connect them in that in a relationship. Sometimes biting your tongue is the best thing to express your truth, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes our ego gets in the way and wants to prove our point. Like that's not going to make anything happier. If I start pulling out my list of things you did wrong, that's not my truth. That's not who I actually am. I don't want to have an ongoing list of the things you do. I don't even want to look at that. Yeah. I don't want to start a list like that. I don't want to. And when I find myself starting to do that, because my husband's a Virgo, so he likes to play like with his mind sometimes. And so I'll find myself playing along, but that's actually not my truth. My truth is like, let's just let it go. It's not a big deal. Let's move on.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hearing is that it really depends on the person in front of you. Like,
it depends on yourself too.
On yourself? What do you mean?
It depends on, yes, what the circumstance is, but it depends on like the level of depth that you're willing to go to within yourself.
Yes. So I'll tell you why this kind of popped out at me. Because in a few different friendships that I've had, and also this is kind of a topic that I've heard you speak about and I would love to go into a little. Exactly something like this happened. I spoke my truth in what I felt was my truth that I needed to express, but the other person didn't really accept it and not like didn't even give me the space to express myself, but made it completely turn the situation around, like in a way that they told me that I'm attacking them. And of course I wasn't attacking, I was speaking like very gently, very kindly, and saying, okay, like this made me feel this way. I was speaking in a very direct, which is already uncomfortable for many people, but expressing my experience. And I would like to be in friendships where you can express yourselves, and when something doesn't work, even if it's my own thing that's coming up from the interaction, I would like to be in a relationship that has space for that to be expressed and looked at in a safe way, in a loving way, and not to be judged for it or just made to feel uncomfortable about it. So that's why it came up. So I can also connect this with something that I heard you say on a different podcast about like the type of friendship that you have and reciprocity, and also the depth that you like to go into relationships with, which I like as well. And I find that it's a really specific type of person that's willing to go there with you.
Oh yeah.
So let's hear your thoughts.
So I want to talk about the friendship, and I think that what I'm learning more and more is that people in our lives, we all assume that people that we're close with are doing the work, right? But the let's say this friend, she can only meet you at her level of work. So say that you've been working here. You're not better, you're not worse, whatever. If you're here and your self-work and your spirituality and your spiritual path and your Dharma and your purpose and alignment, and she's here. She's maybe like partying a lot and like not looking at herself and quit therapy a while ago and made up excuses. And
I have to stop you here because she goes to like workshops all the time. Yeah.
Okay. So she's here.
Like 3 therapists.
So this was the friend that I broke up with as well.
Okay.
Is she's been in the work her entire life, yet she's not embodied. So this is a whole different level of human being where it's like this trickery. She was a yoga teacher. She was like now as a psychologist, like talking the talk, not walking the talk, not walking the walk.
Yeah.
And it's tricky because it's like, but you're doing all the things and she's taught me things. The difference, this is the next step, this is very advanced, is embodiment. Are they actually embodied with the work that they do? So maybe your friend has been doing a ton of work and going to workshops and showing up and posting about it and saying she's doing it. And like, maybe she even really thinks that she's doing the work, but there's something blocking her and she's not willing to look at that and she's not willing to move past that. She's still here, whether she's doing the work or not.
So there's something blocking, and she like, not even like specifically her, but if something is blocking us, you're like, let's go specifics.
No. If something's blocking us
and we're not willing to look at
it, whether it's like,
then we're going to say you're attacking me.
Yeah, we can only meet. So then you're here.
Yeah.
You're here in your awareness. Let's call it that, not in the work necessarily. You're here in your awareness. She's here. When you either come down to her or she needs to rise up to you. And it's very hard for her to rise up to you until she deals with the bullshit that's keeping her stuck. Right? The minute she starts to look at her shadows, her darkness, her trauma from when she was a kid, the way her dad treated her, the absence of her mother, whatever her thing is, doesn't matter what it is, but if we believe the thing is trauma, it's trauma in the body. Yeah. No one person's trauma is worse than another person's trauma. And she went through something, or she's going through something now that's keeping her stuck. Until she's willing to push past that and look at things she doesn't want to look at and change certain behaviors and activities, is the only time that she's going to be able to grow. And then it could be in 6 months, it could be in a year. Then she'll meet you where you are, potentially. And then you can have a real conversation eye to eye, instead of like, because this also doesn't feel good when someone's down here. You know, they can't quite understand. So they make it they get defensive. They make it about them. They change things around. They make you look like the bad guy. Yeah. Right? And it's not. You're just trying to connect authentically and use your voice, tell your truth, even when your voice shakes, even when you would rather avoid confrontation. Confrontation is where the magic happens. The confrontation in a relationship has the potential to, yes, break. But if there's trust in the relationship and love, and you're both in the work and in the process, it will make you stronger. Yeah. To go there with one another. Definitely.
And that's why I said before, it really matters who you're there with. Because if they're not willing to do 100%. This, then it doesn't matter how honest you are and how open and all of that. It's really not relevant.
Yeah. My husband always says that, like, he hasn't said it in a long time because now he's really in the work himself. He's super embodied. And, you know, he's 47 for the record. He's turning 47 in August. And he's only in the last few years has become so embodied in the practices and the work and like all of it. He's, you know, it can take time. Yeah. It can take time. But he always used to say, you're always moving the goalposts. You're always moving the goalposts. And I love that because it's like so true to who I am. We're always changing. We're always evolving. And therefore our standards rise and the things we need from a relationship increase. And, you know, what we're asking for and what our needs are. And like, we're always fluctuating. And especially as women, we're very fluid. And yeah, the truth is, yes, that's not a bad thing.
It's an amazing thing.
It's an amazing thing. And I understand that it's hard to be in a relationship. Like, one of the most spiritual things a person can do is be in an intimate, evolved relationship. It is so confrontational. It is nonstop. Wherever you go, there you are. And they're staring back at you. And it's intense. It's the most incredible lessons and spiritual work you will ever go through, is being in a seriously intimate relationship. And that can be a friendship. It can be a very best friend. It can be a girlfriend, it can be a boyfriend, it can be a husband, it can be a mother, it could be a father, someone that you're really intimate with, and you let them see you and you're vulnerable and open enough and raw enough for them to see you, and then you're willing to really see them, there is no greater spiritual practice than that.
100%, because you can be totally spiritual and enlightened by yourself.
Right. A lot easier. Yeah. It's actually a lot easier to sit on a mountaintop and just like in silence. Like I'm the most spiritual when I'm alone without
meditating
kids
all day.
You leave me alone for 3 days. I'm like
Cloud
floating.
9, exactly.
Floating. Yeah.
But then the relationships are what really show us what the shadows are. But I think what you said, like the change, or what your husband says about changing the goalpost, like for me, that's amazing, because that means he keeps rising up all the time.
And now he's doing it for me.
Exactly.
It's an ebb and a flow. And sometimes I'm moving the goalposts. Sometimes we're moving them together. We're like able to set new goals and say like, this is where we want to go, or this is what we want to try, or this is what we want to evolve into. Most of the time, one of us is being dragged by the other, you know, like, yalla, let's go. We're going this way. I'm like, I'm tired. And he's like, get up. You know, it's like, that's true ultimate love is helping someone, pulling them along, but the person has to step up and rise to the occasion. You can't just drag someone.
Definitely. And I even want to add that it's not just romantic partnerships. Like, as you said, like it can be in friendships, it can be in work situations, like people pushing
mentors,
each other's. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I love that.
You want as many people in your life that expect the best of you, want the best for you, and push you and question things and, you know, ask you to go that extra step for you.
Exactly.
They want to see you succeed. They want to see you do well. They don't want to see you cut corners. Like you want people in your life that are like that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Oh, I love that. I love that. So that kind of brings me back to, you know, if somebody's not willing to be there in that space with you, you kind of spoke a few times about friend breakups. And the topic that I'm thinking a lot about recently is reciprocity, because I heard you speak about this as well. Sorry, I'm like... You're like a stalker.
I love it. No, I love it because we get to pick up where we left off. Yeah.
I came prepared.
Good.
You spoke about like how you love giving in a relationship and friendship. And I feel that way as well. But now I'm like at a point where if you're not giving also, then it's not fun for me to give.
Right.
But then I spoke about this with a friend of mine, and then he was like, but what about unconditional love and giving just for the sake of giving without getting? And it made me think. So I would love to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah. And I think there's also, you know, there's different love languages. So for one person, like giving gifts might be their way of giving love. Receiving gifts may be the way that they receive love and translate into love. There's more to look at in that. For me, it's not gifts. It's not the way I give. It's not the way I receive. I will take gifts, but it's like not the priority in my mind. For me, it's really spending time together. And since having 3 kids, multiple businesses, it's really acts of service. So my husband, like taking the kids on an adventure for like the movies or, you know, go to the park or whatever, like, hey, I got them. You go do your thing. Like that acts of service is like the biggest. Doing the dishes, like do the laundry, like, whatever. Because that's what I need right now to feel loved, to feel not crazy. I think that with gifts, with giving, I won't say gifts, but with giving, there has to be the reciprocity energetically. It doesn't have to be the same. Like if I give you my electric bike, it doesn't mean you have to give me something of equal.
I mean, like calling to make a plan together, you know, like
there has to be reciprocity.
Exactly.
There has to. I was friends with someone. We weren't like super close, but I started to look at the relationship and I was like, she doesn't ever call me. I'm always the one that calls her, and she doesn't have kids. Like it's just her personality. Fine. Just I don't want to be in a friendship where it's not reciprocal. I've been the one calling for 6 months now. I've been the one texting, you know, and she would even be surprised. She'd be like, I can't believe with 3 kids and da-da-da. I'm always so surprised that you can text. I'm like, it's just the kind of friend I am.
Because it's important.
It's
to
important
have
to
friends.
me.
Yeah.
It's important. My girlfriends are everything to me.
Yeah.
So because of that, I work really hard. It's like, it does come naturally, but I also work hard to carve out the time and space for my girlfriends because it matters to me.
Yeah.
It has to be reciprocal. It really does have to be reciprocal. So in terms of unconditional love, for me, if I'm just giving and not receiving, at a certain point, it wears on me and it wears me down and it beats me down because I can't just be the giver of all things. You know, there has to be some level of reciprocity. There has to be some level of like, you know, if I'm hosting a Shabbat dinner every single Friday and it's a potluck and like the same 3 people always come empty-handed, at a certain point, it's like I'm offering my home, my energy, my love, my own food. You know, I'm the one doing all the cleanup. I'm the one that, you know, it's like holding space. You got to give a little, you know, bring the challah, like do something, ask what I need, right?
Yeah.
And if I say nothing, that's on me, right? So that's, I think the reciprocity piece is what's helped me. It's not a give and take. It's not 100% equal. I don't want it to be 100% equal. Sometimes I'll need more than what you need energetically. Sometimes I'm going through a tough time and you're there for me. Sometimes you're going through a tough time and I'm there for you because I'm feeling stronger and more embodied. It's up to us to be honest about what our needs are in relationships.
Yeah.
And then know that overall the reciprocity piece is really what it is.
Beautiful. So the last kind of topic I want to ask you about is intuition, which it's like in your website, it's your vision, your mantra, your like grounded belief of how you kind of interact with the world.
Yes.
So I am totally there. Like for me right now, moving forward in life from my intuition is my number one priority.
Yep.
And yet I'm finding that, okay, I'm aware of the voice inside me. I'm aware of how it feels. I'm aware of the consequences of when I listen to my intuition and when I don't. But I find that like the place that I get stuck in sometimes is like knowing what is the right thing, but then actually taking the action according to intuition.
So can you give an example?
Yeah, I'll give like a really basic one. Choosing to go with this friend and not that friend to have lunch. And for me, what happens when I don't follow my intuition, immediately, like I feel it. Yeah. I feel it in my body. Nothing flows, like everything is stuck, like things don't work.
But that's the answer. That's how you know by testing your intuition, just like testing the universe. When you test your intuition, you'll know immediately when it's not. You'll know immediately when it's not the right choice. In that moment, if say that you say yes to the one friend and no to the other, you can also just call yourself out in the moment and say, oh, shoot, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot in space that I told that I would be there. Can we meet next Wednesday at this time? Or whatever the thing is, just be honest. Speak your truth. You know, it's all good. She's fine. Everyone's fine. The most important thing is yourself. And, you know, this is just a small example. And like this is where like boundaries come in as well. But like, you know, my sister-in-law is here and she wanted us to come over for Shabbat last weekend. Shabbat's really important to me. It's very intentional. And she was like, well, we can take the kids over here. She has 3 kids. We can take your kids. And I was like, I don't want to separate. In my mind, I had a vision of what the night was going to be. We're going to go watch the sunset. It's Shabbat. We bought challah. We'll go to dinner together. We'll connect as a family. We're here in Tel Aviv. I love my sister-in-law. I want to do everything to make her happy. That me going into the city further away from the beach right at sunset, it made my whole body crawl. I was just like, my skin was crawling. I was like, oh. And even though it was uncomfortable, I had a boundary and I said, you know, I spoke my truth. We actually bought challah bread. I really want to watch the beach for sunset and I want my kids with me tonight. But how about tomorrow? In my mind, I felt like she was mad at me for days. She probably wasn't. She might have been a little disappointed. And that's where the practice comes in. I'm going to have a boundary. I'm going to protect my own space and energy. I'm going to protect my evening. And she can't make me feel anything and I can't make her feel anything. So how she's reacting and responding belongs to her. And now I get to be present to my own evening and this dream that I'm creating within my own life. If I'm going to stay in guilt all night, we may as well have gone because I'm not going to be present, right?
Yeah.
So it was my job to shake it off and move forward, even though I was like sad that I thought I disappointed her, right? So that's just an example of like, use your voice. It ended up being the best night. We like played games over dinner the whole time and like had challah and said the prayer and like watched the sunset over the ocean. Like it was perfect. We all needed that. And so it's our job to connect to what those intuitive things are telling us. And the minute that we get the hit of the no, it's our job to redirect. If you keep going down the path, even though you know it's not right for you, nothing good is going to come from it.
Nothing good. It just doesn't work out. Not for you and not for the other person that you're kind of like
They'll
trying
feel
to
it.
protect
They
their
feel
feelings.
it too.
Exactly.
They feel it too. We all feel it, right?
100%.
If I would have gone to my sister-in-law's house last Friday, I would have been a lump on the couch of depression. I would have been like the whole time. Nobody wants that. She doesn't want that version of me.
Not at all.
Right.
But I love that you said that it's really about kind of like setting a boundary. I think that maybe is the scary part for me at this moment.
I think this is the quote, but having boundaries is teaching someone how to love you.
I love that.
You know, it's a thing of love. It's you know, it's not like a metal fence. It's like a beautiful flowery bougainvillea fence that like, you know, it's just like saying like, this is how I protect myself and this is how you can love me, and using our words and speaking our truth. There's nothing wrong with boundaries, and it helps, you know, it helps everything go smoother. It makes you feel more aligned with your truth.
100%. And if I think about like, if somebody else would tell me this is how I want to be loved, I would love to know that.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Well, I want to close the episode with the closing curiosity questions that I always end with. So the first one is, what is something you've changed your mind about?
Well, as we talked about earlier, we are constantly evolving. I'm always moving the goalposts, right? I'm always changing my mind about things. And that comes with the trust that my intuition is guiding me. And sometimes things will be a full body yes, and sometimes they won't. And everything is constantly evolving and shifting and changing. So who I was yesterday is not who I am tomorrow. And the same circumstance or environment or situation might look the same, but it's not. It's everything is in the one moment of like shifting. Like the same morning routine that I did yesterday is not what I'll do today. The way I practice in my body for yoga today is not going to be how I do tomorrow, because it's intuitive. It's who am I in this moment and what do I need?
Yeah. Beautiful. What is spirituality for you?
Spirituality to me is connection to self. It's connection to truth, that true north I was talking about earlier. That is spirituality to me, is being aligned with my Dharma, my truth, my purpose. Spirituality is relationship to spirit, my essence, who I really am, and like the truth of that.
Amazing. And last question, what are you curious about right now?
I am curious about where kind of my career is shifting. I can feel a big shift. I'm going to speak, for example, in Guam and do the keynote and teach and all these things next week. And I don't think of myself as a speaker. So I think as I'm emerging into like my late 30s, into early 40s soon, what does that mean? And who am I becoming? And who is this next version? I'm also curious about reading more. I've been reading a lot of fiction, which I think is so fun. And I used to just take life a little more seriously and not let myself enjoy fiction because I felt like if I wasn't learning and growing every minute, then I was wasting my time, and it's just not true. And so finding more pleasure in reading fiction and doing things just for pleasure is a new area of curiosity for me.
Beautiful. So Sophie, how can people stay connected with you? Tell them about your retreat coming up.
Yes, I have a retreat with my best friend, Kaylee. We've been leading retreats for a long time together. I've been leading retreats on my own for 12 years internationally. It's in Mexico at a beautiful 5-star resort. We have a few spots left, and yeah, I'd love to have you. It's all levels. We'll really talk about all the things we talked about today in the podcast, leaning into the discomfort, change, Dharma, looking at your shadows, all of it. So definitely join us if you're interested. September 20th through 24th.
Beautiful. Sophie, thank you so much. I love this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, after this time to nurture your mind and your spirit, we invite you to take a moment to consider others. A kind wish might come to mind. Know that what we learn becomes more valuable when we apply it and share it with others. So share this episode on Instagram stories, tag Yandara and I, or share with a loved one so that more people can benefit from it. Our hope is that the search will lead you home to who you already are, to what was always there. We'll be back next week with more inspiration, honest conversation, and insight into the energetic world around us. Thank you for listening and watching.